Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated podcast, where we take animation seriously. I'm Beatriz Mourad, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And April Collins.
Hi there.
Today we will be discussing the 14th episode of Fruits Basket, That's a Secret. Warning, spoilers for everything that has aired up to this point. Some of us have read the manga, some of us have seen the early 2000s version of the anime, but we won't be spoiling anything beyond episode 14. You can find out more information about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes, on Spotify, or on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. All right, tell me, general thoughts. How much did you cry? How many liters of tears or I don't know how to measure it. Just tell me, walk me through. What are your general emotions, thoughts about this episode? Let's start with you, Michelle.
This episode broke me, but it broke me in a couple ways. It broke me in that Momiji's whole situation. I feel like every time we have a character episode, it's always like, oh my god, that poor character. But really, though, this time, the Momiji thing is so sad. And, it explains so much. No wonder Momiji, tries to hug her all the time. Because, his mom, is so, disgusted by him that she demands that her memory be wiped because that's too much for her. So, to have somebody embrace that side of him who's a girl especially, I feel like it's a huge deal. And, oh, man, the other thing that broke me was just, shipping stuff at the very end, where it's just oh, no, what is this? Too much happening. The funeral was weirdly, really nice and kind of the funniest part of the episode. It's definitely lighter than the Momiji stuff, which I thought was looking back was interesting.
Yeah.
But this was a really heavy episode and a lot happened, but I also really liked this episode. I thought it was really strong and all the emotional stuff. So I'm glad we have it. But it's also a lot to take in. Mostly just poor Momiji, though, for real.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Where would you rank it, this episode?
Oh, man.
I don't you don't have to tell me specifics, but just, in tiers. Is this in the top, middle, bottom?
I think right now it would be, on par with Hattori's episode.
Really?
And I consider that pretty high up there. So I'd say, maybe lower top tier, but definitely still in top tier.
Gotcha. April, tell me. Are you okay?
Yeah.
That was so believable, April.
Thank you. I did my best. So this episode was hard for me to watch. And I totally poor Momiji, that's so sad. But it was hard for me to watch in a different way. Just because it got me thinking about my own relationship with my mom and how I don't really have a relationship with my mom. And then I felt bad because I was I choose not to have a relationship with my mom, but for really good reasons. And so I felt really bad that especially the first time that I watched it, just because I was just Momiji wants so desperately to be a part of his mom's life. And that really comes across in this episode. So this episode was hard for me. And of course I cried a lot. And I agree. This is a really solid episode. It's very top tier. The pacing was very nice. You have a lot of really heavy moments, but then you also have lighthearted heavy moments, which you can really appreciate. Especially the whole thing with Toru's mom, and they're celebrating the anniversary of her passing. And I just thought that was super sweet, and especially because both of the boys showed up, and yeah, it was a lot this episode. So, and I it's one of those things where I usually will watch episodes multiple times. And after I watched it the second time, I was like, oh, this is like just torturing myself because like I just knew like even the second time around I still felt it like very deeply inside of me. And I was like, ooh, like it's like one of those things where like I really like you're like, oh, like this cuts deep, but like I like that it cuts deep and that it is able to cut deep even on the second watching. So I think that kind of says a lot if an episode can like draw so much emotion even upon the second watching.
Totally. Yeah. Very high on my list too. I similarly suffered while watching. Momiji is slowly becoming my favorite character. And I'm not surprised because
it makes sense. He's a really good boy. Like he's a very good boy. Like he's always sticking up for Toru, and he's even like kind of rooting for his mom, which is crazy, kind of considering the situation, right?
We'll talk about his mom, but I don't know. I for me it was also like, he's a bunny. Of course he's going to be your favorite.
Aww.
But then I was like, I remember in the manga, I remember my favorite and it wasn't him. So I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't even remember why my favorite was my favorite. So yeah. So Momiji, you're slowly becoming my favorite and I cried so much and I love you and you deserve the world. Okay. So let's talk about this opening scene. First of all, because I agree, I think one of the reasons why this episode is so successful is that sometimes it can the episodes can feel very divided in the way that in the first half and second half, because I guess they just do like 2 mini arcs in each episode and they combine them. The one that felt the least dramatic was the Hattori episode because they grabbed a chapter that was not together with that basically they grabbed 2 chapters of the manga that didn't go together and they brought them together and it made it flow a lot better. But with this episode, it did flow really well. Even though it was 2 distinct moments, they tied them really well together. But this opening scene, I think, really set the tone in that it kind of, we knew it was going to be all about moms, and that scene with Momiji just looking at his mom. Like, it just told us everything without even a word. And that first line, I don't think there are any memories that are okay to forget. Already, you're like, red flags, there is some hurt that's gonna happen, we're gonna suffer, and here it comes. Like, just in all levels, it was great. And then we also learn about Toru's mom's passing, and we learn about that it's the first anniversary, which is kind of surprising to me because I couldn't believe that it had only been a year.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot longer. So, like, it makes Toru even more so, like, it makes her cheerfulness and her positivity even more striking because I don't know, like, it doesn't, I feel like she, like, didn't even allow herself to mourn that much. Like, she just immediately, like, I don't know, it just, for me, it's just showed so much strength from Toru's perspective.
That's what her friends say, too, right? Because like, you know, if she had died, I don't think I could be this chipper a year from now. And their conclusion isn't really, like, she's so brave, so much as it is, like, she must really have struggled every day to fight her, to put on this face, to fight her own despair for the benefit of everyone else, and that is some deep stuff right there. And we're acknowledging that is the struggle she's been going through. Yeah, which is like good on those friends for noticing and acknowledging that.
Know. Yes. They always know. Like
I was gonna say, like, she has the best friends, though. It also, like, I cried whenever Hanajima was like, if Toru were to die, then I would want, like, my memories erased because I couldn't bear the pain. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's, like, because I also feel like it's one of those, like, totally relatable, like, moments where, like, someone has at least one person in their life that they're like, I don't know what I would do if that person, like, died or, like, left me. And so I was like, oh God, I'm crying again. Stop it.
But no, yeah, I mean, I know we talk often about like, oh, but like, who's there for Toru? Like, why? Like, she's helping so many people. Who's helping her? But it's like, she's got Hanajima, she's got Arisa, she's got the best friends, and I love them so much. And every time they're there, I'm just like, great. And I want Kyo and Saki to have like a sitcom thing happening.
Oh my
Just
God,
a comedy of them two, of just like her driving him nuts, and it's great. Like, or just him with both of them, because they both like could make fun of him, and it'd be great. But yeah, and we get this really interesting kind of shot of Kyo where he makes this face once we learn, and it's not even clearly he's dealing with something, and we'll get to theories about what that something is, but he isn't he's going through something, and we already get that the sense of that in this kind of opening. How effective was it for you? Because I feel like this is the strongest cold opening that we've had of the series. It may not be the best, like, whether or not it's your favorite episode is beside the point. I think this is the strongest opening scene. Is that a hot take, or is that a fair take?
Can you describe to me what Kyo does in the beginning? Because I don't remember.
I mean, I don't
remember either.
Like, it's not, he doesn't do anything. He's just looking very serious at the ground and doesn't acknowledge that he's going to join them.
Oh, that. Well, I guess maybe somebody in his family maybe died and he's afraid of the graveyard.
Oh, totally. I mean, I'm not asking for theories on him. I'm just asking, like, what do you think of, in general, the opening scene of, like, seeing Momiji and then seeing this thing, like, setting up this episode? How effective was this opening sequence? We'll talk about what's going on with Kyo later, but...
Well, the opening was very good. I mean, I say that because in juxtaposition to the new anime opening,
we'll talk
which is extremely peppy, I was like, what is this? I was blindsided that we were getting a new one because I didn't know that was happening. I guess we're halfway through the first season already is what that means. But I mean, it's not bad. The animation got better. I can say that. But with the somber tone we're setting up with the show opening, and then the anime opening is like here to be very chipper and to throw as many umbrellas in the sky as possible in like a minute. Those together were a little odd to me.
Okay, so you're not the biggest fan of the new opening.
No, I don't hate it. It's like fine. It's just different.
You prefer if you had to pick between the first and the second opening, you'd pick the original first, slower kind of.
Yeah, but I guess maybe the second opening's because like we're in a different part of the story now and we need a different vibe. And I get that, but I don't know. I really like the first song, so this is just an adjustment.
Gotcha. April, where do you fall with the opening of like the song and the tone shifts and stuff?
I mean, I guess I wasn't like too disturbed by it.
You were too disturbed by it. That's a good measure.
Like, I thought that, like, I actually, like, even though, like, it's upbeat and it totally, like, doesn't fit into the tone of this episode, I think it's, like, a good, like, opening sequence, you know, it's peppy, but like I think the only reason I would not like it is if we have this tone like from here on out, then this peppy song is just going to be extremely out of place. But something that always bothers me about like anime openings is they always give away stuff.
Yeah.
And
the characters, yeah.
Yeah, and that drives me crazy. What is it? Because I guess like we're getting some other characters that we haven't seen yet. So I was just like, well, who are they? Like, how are you going to throw these people in my face and then go back to people I already know? Like,
I mean, that happened in the first opening and in the first
they had,
ending
like,
too.
Their backs to you, or like their hair covering their face. It was like a little more mysterious.
I guess.
But yeah, it's true though.
I guess. I just love this opening because it's
really?
I'm gonna be honest. I am always honest, but I'm gonna be extra honest. I usually skipped the opening. Like, I found the first opening, I found it boring. I didn't like the song. I was like, this is too slow. I have no time for this. Let me go into the good stuff. Same thing with the ending sequence. I didn't care for it. I was like, all right, I'm just going to skip this.
All of the beautiful men splayed out by the trees and the grass.
I'm just saying, look who you're talking to. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. But, but also, I just don't, I just didn't, I don't know. This one, at least, I'm like, all right, it's an upbeat thing, and I'm, like, excited, I'm, like, energized. It's, like, it's basically, like, getting me hyped to suffer. And I'm down for it. I'm like, all right, make me, like, for a moment, for the briefest moment, forget that these people are very deeply hurt and traumatized. Let me just enjoy them being happy for just the littlest time. And, you know, like, the umbrellas and the colors and it's just, it was fun, and I liked it. And, yeah, I mean, it kind of, in terms of, like, the tone shifts, it just reminds me of the Puella Madoka, like, Magica Madoka opening, where it's like, the show is not that opening. That opening is meant to deceive you, and it's like, I love it. I love it. I love that kind of shift. It's like, it makes you think the show is one thing, but then you watch it and it's something else, and it's great. But yeah, let's actually go into the suffering. I've put it away long enough. So we learn about Momiji's family. And we learn that, one, that it's his mother who is German, and that his dad married her in college. Still have questions about, like, what was the reception to this marriage? Like, were people okay with it? Were they not? Because if everyone's so, like, into, like, oh, inside, outside, like, even within the family, there's, like, a rank of, like, you can't, like, Hattori couldn't marry, well, granted, Hattori was a Zodiac, and I'm assuming and obviously Momiji's dad wasn't a Zodiac.
Yeah.
But still, like, this family's very, like, I don't know, it's, like, there's a hierarchy, and so I'm still very curious of how people responded to this, marriage. But yeah, so we learned that his mother exists. We learned that she's alive. We learned that he has a little sister named Momo, who's in second grade.
Their names are like the same name.
Momiji, Momo. Oh man. Oh god. Like, his mom, like, internally remembers a little bit, and it kills me. Anyway. So yeah, we learned that his mom doesn't know about him. Hattori had, like, wiped her memories. And before we get into, like, her decision, all this stuff, dear God, this poor boy, this poor child, like, we talked about it in, like, when we got into the parents, I think it was during, like, the Hot Springs episode. Where we were like, wait.
We were joking, like, oh, what happens if you hug your kid and he turns into a bunny? That's hilarious. But actually.
But for real, though.
Like, this. And we also learned about the mom, why she was so, like, extreme about her son. The one that was sick and lived in the hot springs. Like, new information. Children born of the Zodiac curse, one are born early. They're born, I guess.
The premature, essentially.
Yeah.
Like 2 months early. And they can turn from birth. So we had this theory also that maybe it started during puberty or when they were, like, children, and then whatever. It starts from birth. So yeah, we learned that moms are either excessively protective or they reject their children completely, which is okay. So there are various things that we need to talk about just with this fact alone. One, it's very gendered in that, okay, so the moms aren't allowed to be emotionally stable at all. They're either extremely protective on one end or they just collapse on the other. So that. And then, so I'm like, okay, well, what about the dads? Where's, like, the emotional baggage with them? Like, I get there isn't a connection with having, like, literally having a child grow within you. But, I don't know. I just didn't like.
Maybe it's because we haven't had a Soma mom yet. It's always been the dad. Like, Hattori was the guy who brought someone in. She's German. She wasn't a part of the family. Maybe if we had, like, some guy, like, maybe if it was reversed, right, and, like, the ram or something is, like, some lady and she hooks up with the guy outside the family, she would handle it better because she can anticipate it. She's grown up with it. She maybe knows about the Zodiac, so it's not a huge surprise. So I feel like part of the issue with these two women we have is that they just don't, it's just not part of their life, really, so it's a bigger shock.
Right. I guess.
It's a weird pattern, on the other hand, also, that it keeps happening and ruining these ladies' lives, but the men are, like, I say relatively unscathed because there was an almost eyeball tragedy from Hattori.
But he wasn't a dad, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he wasn't a parent. I'm saying, like, why is it that, like, and, you know, we have the counter we have with Toru's mom, you know, who is, like, the pinnacle mother, like, in terms of just, like, she's, like, the moral compass of the show. But I don't know. I'm just, like, with these Soma moms, I'm like, why? I don't know. It just reminds me of how people think women are hysterical, and, like, there's no one, it's not even, they can't be emotionally stable. It's just one or the other. And it's like, I don't know if I like that. But there's also the whole thing with, like, postpartum depression. And the link, there is like a connection there where it's like, okay, so, like, if a mother rejects and gets depressed and all this stuff, well, it's like, well, there is, like, without being a zodiac, that's something we see. So it's like, there is a link there. No, like, I don't know. I'm just, like, the way it's being portrayed, like, I like how Momiji never, like, blames her. I don't know, did you guys see her in did you think the show portrayed Momiji's mom in a negative way? Or did you find her sympathetic? Where do you fall? Like, what are your thoughts and opinions on Momiji's mother?
I guess, are you asking about, like, Momiji's mother, like, when she still knew Momiji, like when Momiji was still her son, or like afterwards?
No, yeah, because after it's like she's a fine thing. I think it for me, it's like how, because I just don't like how, what makes me slightly uncomfortable is I don't like how they're portraying how these women are, just the mental state of these women, and just how they're not allowed to be mentally stable. They're either drastically too protective, or they are suffering from postpartum depression, basically, and we're rejecting, and then just kind of lose it. And this isn't the first time that we've seen a woman have a mental breakdown, I guess. So it's just, I don't know, I just find
over a Soma boy. Yeah.
Over a Soma boy.
And I don't know, I just found it, like, for me, like, at least, like, I was happy that Momiji doesn't hate his mother because of her. Because it's not okay that she's rejecting him, but also it's like, okay, well, she's not mentally okay. So I like that she's not being vilified. But I'm just curious, did you take it? Did you think that she was being vilified?
No, I didn't think so. I think that I found it, like, even though, like, I don't have kids or anything like that, but it's something that I often have panic attacks about.
Same.
So ask my therapist. But I found it, like, pretty relatable, and I don't think that they villainize Momiji's mom in any way. I think that it in a way, it's almost kind of like shedding a light on a situation that still very rarely gets talked about. I mean, of course, we're three women. We are well aware of, like, postpartum depression and everything like that. And so, but it's still something that, like, isn't really talked about, as is, you know, all, like, women's health things. And so I totally could understand, like, because, again, like, these women aren't necessarily, like, born in the family, and the zodiac secret isn't something that's, like, broadcasted. So it's like, hey, by the way, if you marry a Soma, you could have a zodiac kid. So that sounds really bad, but
it's true though. Like, did this guy tell her that was even an option, or was it a total surprise?
Did he even know? That's the other thing. And so I think between, like, because, like, first off, like, your kid's being born prematurely, so that's already, like, stressful in and of itself. And as much as, like it's gonna sound so bad, but it's also, like, very true. But, like, a lot of the times when something bad happens to the baby, the, like, women will, like, sort of internalize that.
Yeah.
Not internalize. Yeah. Well, they'll internalize it.
Yeah.
But they'll blame themselves because, and that's just, like, that's a natural, like, thing. That's, like, something that, like, is pre-programmed into us. And so, like, first your child is born premature. Then, like, so if you're, you know, you're already at risk for postpartum depression, then you can't even hold your child, like, this, you know, human, this tiny human that you've, spent the last 7 months, creating inside of you, forming this bond, like loving before it even existed, really. And then you can't even fully form a bond with it. Like if it was me, I would probably be Momiji's mom. Like, honestly, I can't imagine myself not being that way, especially if maybe did they have problems like trying to have like a kid? Like, was this an accident? Like, there's so many other things to sort of get factored into it that, I mean, we're obviously not going to talk about, but they're not going to talk about in the show. But so like, it's one of those, like, it honestly makes sense to me. And it's kind of nice that we're like portraying this and we're having like we're doing this.
Right.
It's a little bit like refreshing. I mean, it sucks that we're not calling it postpartum depression given the light of the plot of the story and the whole like Zodiac situation. But that's really like that's its parallel is that. So because that's a lot to take in, like, your kid's born premature and now you can't even like hold it because if it's the opposite gender, because it's going to turn into an animal, like that would be horrifying. I screamed whenever it started raining walking out to the parking lot. Like, I can't imagine what I would do if, like, I went to hold my child and it suddenly turned into a cat. Like, I would freak out. Like, I'm already mentally unstable. Like, this is going to take it up 300 notches. So I found his mom, like, 100% like relatable and sympathetic. She wasn't villainized in any way, shape, or form, because that's a lot of pressure, and no one person can handle all of that. So and that makes sense that like they would be overprotective or they would end up rejecting it given the circumstances.
Gotcha. Michelle, what's your take?
Well, I feel very similarly to April, and I feel like if it's not postpartum depression, the first time I watched it, it kind of read it not in the same way, because like this is more of a legit curse, like that's a whole other thing. But like it did remind me of sometimes, parents, people who want to have kids always imagine that their kids are going to be like normal and healthy and will integrate into society seamlessly. And when it's a surprise when your baby's born with, say, a significant physical or mental disability, it is definitely an adjustment for parents to kind of reconcile with the fact that their kid's going to have a different life. And and the same thing can kind of happen, right? Like you can either like embrace that and maybe be really overprotective because you're worried about your kid extra because they have extra hurdles to overcome because society isn't built to really support them the way they are. Or you reject them because you feel personally that like this can't be my baby, like my baby should be perfect, or like there's no, like it's my fault that this happened, but I don't want to deal with that and internalize it. So like it's not the same thing, but in some ways like I can see it reading similarly. And I think like especially like I have to think she didn't totally know that this was a thing that could happen and that her kid could be cursed with the animal form. Yeah. And that is, like April's saying, like that's such a heavy, hard thing to try to deal with and to not take it personally. Like, why did I my first kid give birth to somebody who's cursed? What does that say about me? I can't handle this reality. And I think the thing that kind of supports that is that like she does have another kid and her kid's normal and she can embrace the normal child. So I feel like I don't blame her, but I feel so sorry for Momiji because to him that's totally going to read as like, well, there must be something wrong with me if she can't accept me, but she can accept this other kid. And maybe I am, all the things she called me when she was not doing well, which like again is why like I look back at all those times when Momiji just wanted to hug Toru, and it's like, yeah, of course he does. Like his mom rejected him. He felt probably like at least on par to how gross Yuki felt, growing up, having Akito tell him that no one ever liked him. Like Momiji hasn't really had an option for a lot of outside people like his mom to embrace him either. So hearing like this one girl is willing to do that, like I'd want to hug her all the time too, just to prove that she wouldn't run away or call me a demon and all that stuff. Like I can totally see him really wanting that from somebody after what happened to him as a kid. Totally. So it's just like, oh, it just breaks my heart. But I feel for the mom. Like it's a harsh thing to do to your kid, but like it is a harsh situation anyway. So I get it. I understand it.
Yeah. You kind of blew my mind because you basically were like, this is like, you could have like kind of a queer reading of this show.
That too.
That's what you basically do. You were saying like in terms of like the parent reaction of like the rejection or just the overprotectiveness because your child is different and is going to face a life that's much, much harsher than another child who would be quote unquote normal. So that kind of blew my mind, not gonna lie. But yeah, I think that was the biggest thing that I appreciated and came away kind of feeling fine about, which is she's not vilified in any way. You're not and it's like you're just basically supposed to like feel bad in this situation. It's not even like, okay, here's like a good, bad side. It's not clear cut. It's just like this situation sucks. And it's like this is like it's a very painful, uncomfortable, and sad tragedy that happened, which I like, and that's not easy to do. And I think it was because you get it from Momiji's perspective, because he's the one saying it.
And he doesn't blame her. I think that's a big
part I think that's
too,
the
right?
thing. Yeah, and like it's not, and I like that he admits like, yeah, selfishly I wish he had fought back for me. But but he still looks out for her. He still obviously craves her love, and he still loves her, and he doesn't blame her. There's a difference between wanting someone to do something and then blaming him for not doing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it says a lot too to his mom that because he was like 5, I guess, whenever like she had her memory erased of him, and like you kind of like have to admit like she really like stuck it out there. You know what I mean? Like it seemed at least because like usually like postpartum hits hard and hits like immediately,
right.
And so like and usually like it gets, I guess, like addressed like fairly quickly. Whereas I'm trying to think of how to say what I want to say, but like I mean, it seemed like she kind of like gave it like 5 years. You know what I mean? Like she really tried, and like no one can like be upset with her for that. But yeah, like Momiji is just such a sweetheart. But also, I'm mad at the family because they like left it up to Momiji to decide like, hey, like, like we're gonna do this, and I was like, that's not fair to him.
I don't think he. Okay, here's my.
The dad is in a hard spot. I was like, he loves his kid and he loves his wife. Like, what do you do?
No, but I think he was saying like, hey, Mommy, it's okay, right? Like, it's okay. Like, I'll love you just as much. I think if Mommy said like, no, I don't. If Mommy had gone against him, I think the dad would have still had them erase her. Like, she would have still had her memories erased. I think it's just that Momiji's like a great child and was just like, I want to help my mom, but I don't know if like he was the end all be all decision maker in this.
It kind of, I don't know. It kind of like felt like
that's how the show portrays it. But I don't know. I just like, I don't know, the way the dad was just like, it's okay, right? Like, I'll love you, which was very sweet of him to say. Like, I don't know if he fulfilled that promise of like, I'll love you twice as much to make up for it, because we've never met the dad, and
I think that if the dad wasn't fulfilling that, then that would have kind of been brought up in this as well. You know what I mean? Because Momiji does say he's just like, you know, my dad loves me. Like, he said something along the lines of that led me to believe that like his dad is fulfilling his side of that promise. You know what I mean? Like he gets to see his dad like after, school and everything like that. So I think he's doing the best he can in the situation. And Momiji, like Toru, is just too pure, and
yeah.
It's like one of those, like, this is the situation I'm in and I'm going to make the most of it. And I think that's great. I think that's like so like positive and empowering.
Yeah. I mean, he is like honestly making the most of it too, because he's not he's not letting his mom forget him. She forgot who he is in the context of her, but she still knows who he is as like a person who exists in the world. She just assumes he belongs to somebody else's family. Yeah. But she knows him, and he sees her quite often. I feel like
kind of. Because he did say, like, oh, she caught me again. I have to say sorry to Dad. I have to apologize. Yeah. So I think you're right. He does like look out for her, and he's kind of like a guardian angel, kind of looking in the background. Like he tries to not let her see him, but he's always watching, and not in the creepy way, but like in the cute way,
the genuine way.
In the genuine way. But yeah, my big thing is there's only like 3 people we've met that have been just mentally not okay. That's Kana. She had a mental breakdown, wiped her memories. That's Mominji's mom had a mental breakdown, wiped her memories, and Akito, who is the villain of the show. Who is the villain of the show? So it's kind of like, okay, like, what are you, like, I'm just saying, give me, I don't know, it's like, it's like, it's sad, it's weird, it's a weird argument. I'm just like, like, if you give me one more person one more woman who has a mental breakdown and her memories are wiped so that she can, like, women can survive trauma is what I'm saying. Like, stop, like, making it seem, like, Toru is, like, the pinnacle example of this. So I guess, like, if Toru didn't exist, I'd be very mad at the show, is what I'm saying.
I don't think that they're trying to, like, say anything. I think if anything, they're just trying to emphasize, like, because Toru's mom means so much to her, and is where she pulls a lot of, like, her wisdom and her mystical and magical healing powers from. Mm-hmm. And so I think that by sort of, like, showing these, like, contrasts in reactions. I mean, it's unfortunate that, like, it seems to be women, but I think the reason why is so that we can emphasize, like, just how great Toru is, but also, but also, like, the comparison with her mom, so that we can, like, like, look at how amazing, like, Toru's mom is, and just really, like, drive home that beat. Because her mom is amazing and was everything to Toru. And so I think that just emphasizing that, like, I don't know. I'm having a really hard time putting it into words.
I'm having a hard time expressing my thing into words. So I don't blame you. Because my thing is, like, Kana isn't a mom, but she still had, like, something traumatic happen. And then she had, like, a mental kind of a breakdown. So that's why I'm like,
I think it's valid. I think it's like, it's a combination of what April's saying in terms of, like, it's just, like, an unfortunate, like, thing that keeps happening, that it keeps being these women who are brought into the family, and it messes them up so badly they have to have their minds erased. But I think taken, like, each thing separately, it's trying to say slightly different things, depending on the situation. But I feel like there's a reading for both, right? You can look at Momiji's mom just in terms of, like, yeah, this is, like, a fair representation of a thing that could happen to somebody in this situation, and that makes a lot of sense, and you don't vilify them, and it's just, like, it's just tragic all the way around. But then you can take a step back and look at it from Beatrice's perspective and say, like, yeah, but, like, within that, there are all these things that keep happening that play into this kind of obnoxious trope that we'd rather not see any more of. And I think, like, both are pretty fair. I think it just depends on how you want to look at it. But, like, if something exists, it's fair to, like, talk about why you might not like it. But also, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
I agree. I like it. Yeah. It just sucks that, like, it's women, like, that we continue to see it for. But I also think that, I mean, yeah, for me, I'm just taking it as, like, we're just, like, further emphasizing, like, how amazing Toru is and how accepting she can be of this, like, tragic, like, situation that all of these, like, this family is in. And so I think I don't know. I'm just
No,
trying
that's
to
fair,
be on the
because-
positive side of it.
Just like to point out the fact that like it's like multiple women having breakdowns being bad, like that should not take away like the power of like what this means for Momiji's mom as a character, and the legitimacy of that is still very much there. So I feel like it doesn't have to be an either or situation, because like I agree with a lot of your points, April. So I think like it's still valid, like no matter what. Does that make sense?
No, yeah. So can we get into theorizing, like, if moms are either super protective or reject the child, does Yuki's mom, like, is she around?
Yo and Yuki's moms, what's up with them? Where did they fall?
I don't know, because like with Yuki, it's like he even said, my parents have never even seen me laugh this way. So it's that like, I doubt Yuki's parents are protective. Doubt it. Because if his mom was overly protective, do you think she would have let him be that, like, let Akito do that to him?
No.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if like Yuki's situation is just specifically unique. Like if we found out that like Kyo's mom rejected him, that wouldn't surprise me. But just given like Kyo and his whole situation, or his place in the whole Zodiac family, but like I wonder if like Yuki's is just unique simply because he's the rat and Akito has a crazy obsession with him. So because I mean he doesn't laugh like that in front of his parents, but we also speculated that like, oh well, maybe just like as a precaution they separate out the Zodiac members. I mean, obviously they have the inner like circle of the family and the outer ring of the family, and so I wonder if like even it doesn't matter whether the parent rejects or is overly protective, they are still sort of like separated from their family, because they had the hot spring lady, and like her son wasn't living there with her, so like who is he staying with? And like you know what I mean?
Well,
like
she was there because she was sick, so they said like she lives there because it's good for her health.
But
So it's like, but that doesn't mean that he can't visit or she doesn't see him. But
so,
I don't know.
But she's also she's like the other extreme of
she's
the
other
mother
extreme
situation. Like she's the overprotective one. Well, but she's also like sort of delirious from her illness too. So, sweet woman, she needs to be healed. but
yeah. So it's. I think Kyo's mom is not here. I think
she's dead?
I think so.
I think so too.
If she's dead, then she's gonna definitely bond with Toru over dead mom stuff, and they're gonna hook up.
But that would also explain like why it was hard for him to have like to do the whole like Toru's mom anniversary thing,
right.
That would make a lot of sense. Or maybe his mom rejected him, and so it's easier for him to just imagine that she's dead or she doesn't exist, because he doesn't have that connection with his mother.
Right.
So
yeah, 2 ways this could happen. She died while giving birth to him, which makes his father hate him, which adds to the whole thing of like he's the rejected Zodiac. Or she rejected him, so she didn't die in childbirth, but she rejected him, and unlike Momiji's mom, she was successful in hurting herself. And then that happened. Or something.
Or she just rejected him and literally doesn't talk to him or acknowledge him.
Or that she could just, or maybe she's somewhere like in I don't know, in Canada, just enjoying her life, pretending he doesn't exist. Which is also very sad.
I like, for some reason, I don't think that she didn't like, if the mom's dead and she's in that graveyard, I think
she's in that one.
I think she had a good relationship, because why else would Kyo ask Arisa if, like, she could talk to spirits, because that implies he'd want to talk to his dead relative.
Right.
Yeah.
True. He asked that. That's why I'm like, maybe she just died through childbirth, and he's just like, I never got to know her, and I blame myself because people tend to.
Okay.
I don't know. There's a lot. I don't know. There's
something going
chaos.
on with Kyo for sure.
Let's take Saki's words for granted. There is chaos with this child, and yeah. But let's talk about visiting Kyoko-san's grave. Let's talk about like that nice little scene. It's weird because it's a very morbid kind of setting, but it is a happy kind of second half of the episode. At least
it's
second
really
half
happy.
outside.
Yeah.
Second half outside like the last like 2 minutes. Because that was its whole thing.
Oh my god, we're gonna get there.
That was an entire thing. But yeah, so Todo is immediately aware that Kyo's going through something. She knows that something's up with him. Arisa and Saki continue to be amazing. And we learn that Kyoko-san's parents were estranged. They're not part of Toru's life. Do you think that they're gonna come back? Do you think that they're going to make an appearance, or are they like, they're gone, we don't care about them?
They're gone.
April's like, get them out of here. I don't want to see him again.
Like,
Gotcha.
I can't imagine in what situation they would come back. Because they probably don't even know that they have a granddaughter. Do they even know that their daughter is dead? I would think probably not. So. I just don't.
Maybe they do, and they don't. They're like, we cut her off. We're estranged. We don't.
Yeah.
Which is also very sad.
Oh yeah, I hope not.
But yeah, and then we also learned that Toru's dad died was of a cold or complications from a cold, which brings Toru being worried about Yuki into perspective for Yuki.
Yeah.
Yuki can't possibly imagine that Toru is worried also because she cares about him in a different way.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's like, oh, she's worried because of her dad, not because she's my friend.
I mean, I think he probably just thinks like, oh, she's worried because of her dad. That's why. And it's like me in the background, no, you dummy!
Yeah, this sound was right. Like, they're all really dense about love in all of its forms.
All of them. Yeah. So Yuki kind of remembers, like, the day that it happened. The day that Kyoko-san passed away, and the day of the accident. And he basically says what we've said, which is he can't believe someone who suffered so much can be so cheerful when talking about Toru. And taking everything into account, not only learning it's been a year, not only seeing the day coming from Yuki's perspective, but also while we heard Momiji's story, we got these very brief flashbacks to Toru, like at the hospital, going to see, like confirming it's her mom. Like walking away from this episode, how has your view of Toru changed? Did anything change, whether that's dramatically or not, on where you fall when it comes to Toru after learning what we did in this episode?
If anything, I think I admire her that much more. Because everyone's just like, I can't believe that someone, they can, like, so many people, and even us have said, like, we can't believe how cheerful she is despite everything. And I think that it takes a very strong individual to be, like, to come out, like, on top. Like, all of those things that happened to her are, like, extremely tragic. And no one's trying to take that away from her. But I, like, a lot of the times I take things like, it depends on how you interpret it and how you choose to walk away from something. And so for Toru to be able to gather herself enough to put a smile on every day and to care about others as much as she does, that is a very strong and, like, very, very strong person, both, like, mentally and, like, emotionally. And I'm not saying that I don't think that she, like, has any type of, like, that she's not capable of feeling sadness, because she is.
Did.
Yeah, like, she did, and she does, and she's shown us, these, like, softer moments of her personality and her character. But, like, I want to be that strong. So, because I love that. Like, I love that she is just insanely, like, put together, and that she can be, like, a stable support, not only for, like, the Somas and her friends, but for herself as well. It's incredible. So
Yeah.
that's my I'm in love with Toru, and this is why. So I will step off my soapbox.
Yeah. I can't disagree with you.
I want to jump off that. I think all that's absolutely 100% right. And I'd say, like, one thing I really appreciate about this episode is it helped me realize a lot of parallels that Toru and Momiji have to each other. Because I very much took their conversation as them both acknowledging in different ways this really pivotal loss of a mother in their lives. And I think, honestly, this helped me understand also why Momiji sees Toru the way he does and treats her willingness to be kind with so much respect, because in his own way, he kind of has a very similar approach. Like, both of them have these very tragic losses, and they decide, instead of being really bitter or closing themselves off and shutting down, to stay really happy and cheerful and present that part of themselves to the world, despite having all this, like, turmoil going on underneath the entire time, and continuing to have that. And I think that's really interesting that they share that much in common. And that also makes me, like, so glad, like, when Momiji, like, finishes the story and, like, she hugs him. Like, if she didn't hug him, I would have been so upset. Because someone needed to hug him. It's such a sad story. And, like, it's such a nice moment because, like, they're crying together, and he's bunny form, still crying. And it's like, yeah, like she finds strength from Momiji in that moment.
Yeah,
like, she's so used to being the one to pump people up with her stories about her mom. But it's his story saying, like, I want to have these memories because I don't want to let go of them, because I want to be stronger coming out the other side one day to be able to, like, handle it fully. And she's like, yeah, like, I honestly, same. I want to do the same thing with my own situation with my mom passing. And I think that's, like, such a great kinship moment between them. And it's just so nice. Like, they're, like, Toru is very strong, and I think, like, possibly she's had a stronger, wider effect on more people than Momiji. But I think what they're going through is very similar, and their motivation to kind of get through it and be happy about it, or at least as much as they can, is, like, really wonderful. And I'm glad it's, like, more than one person too, because now, like, if she has a motor weakness, she can go to Momiji and vice versa, because, like, it is a very similar situation in that regard. So I'm glad they have each other for that, because it's a very special, particular kind of loss and approach to dealing with it, and they share that, and that's really great.
Well, and that's something that they share that they don't share with other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but that also explains why Momiji is also attached to Hattori, because Hattori went through, even though it wasn't with his mother, he went through something similar with Kana. And so that makes sense that Momiji would be, find that, a high level of kinship with Hattori. But then, like, him and Toru went through the same thing. And so, to some degree, and that, like, they don't have that with anyone else. So that makes sense why, like, they're they instantly bond. And then they've also chosen to approach it from the same perspective as you said, Michelle. So, like, they don't have that with anyone else. Like, I mean, if I had to, if I didn't know any better or want anything else, like, I would say that, like, Toru and Momiji would be endgame, but that's weird.
They are basically the same age, despite what they look like. Yeah.
But I mean, I will say, if anything, I think not that they go by the same approach. I think in this episode we learn that Toru was still struggled with what happened despite her facade of being so happy and positive. She was still struggling with those memories. And I think she did wish to forget them. And it wasn't until she had this kind of talk with Momiji that she goes, one day I hope to cherish these memories like you do. Right? Doesn't she say something along those lines?
Yeah, like,
so I think,
it implies she isn't there yet. Like, she still has a lot of pain.
Exactly. To me, what I like is that it shows that she kind of, usually what happens with the show is we see people learning from Toru. We see them, like, Toru will say some incredibly, like, a nuanced thing, and then the person, whoever it is, will become a better person for it or whatever. This is, I think, the first time we see it flipped in a way, outside of, say, that episode where Yuki and Kyo went to go get her from her grandfather's house and her aunt's house, where someone else told a story, and Toru was the one who took something to learn from.
Well, but that makes sense too, because Momiji has been, I guess, doing this for longer. Yeah. And so I think for Toru, that must be like super comforting to know that, like, hey, look, here is a person who's made it out on the other side. Like, her mom only passed away a year ago. Like, yeah, she's not going to be over it right away, but like it must be so nice for her to know that, like, this is what the other side could look like for me, rather than, like, you know, staying in the grief and, like, reveling in that sadness. So I think, I agree. I think it's really nice and refreshing that Toru gets to have, like, that gets to be the person affected versus having an effect on other people.
Yeah. That's it. Those are the words that need to be strung together. Those are the words. But yeah, we got that lovely moment with, like, Saki and Kyo where he's like, can you speak to ghosts? And she's basically Professor X, and it's like, no, I can read thoughts, but, like, not, but kind of.
I can read your waves, and they're crazy. What's going
on? They're crazy, Kyo. They're crazy.
They're out of control.
It's chaos, I tell you. Chaos. And Kyo looks so scared when she says that he's chaotic. And then Toru comes in. And I just want to talk very briefly. When Toru grabs Kyo, we get a shot of her hand touching his arm. Like, it's a very deliberate shot of, of touching. So I'm just saying, like, what does this mean? Like,
you don't gotta, because you don't gotta. Look, Momiji's like, it's not even, like, ambiguous at this point. The show's shipping Kyo as Endgame. Momiji's like, I don't like Yuki's gonna get ya. When's Kyo gonna come get ya? And then her friends had the whole conversation about, like, Yuki's not even an option anymore. Like, oh, Kyo, yeah, I think he likes her. Oh, maybe they're gonna get married. Like, this is not subtle.
Okay, I mean, it's still, there is when Saki was like, look, Kyo and Yuki are both very chaotic. Like, those boys are still very chaotic. Which I really appreciate when Saki said this, which is, she's basically saying they're unable to start a romantic relationship right now because they are dealing with their trauma. They are too chaotic at the moment that they're not ready to start something. Even though Arisa is just like, well, like, love happens when it happens. Like, you never see it coming. Saki's like, they're not ready yet. Which I really like that. That sense of maturity of, like, oh, like, you shouldn't be willing to start something romantic or have such an intense relationship.
First.
Yeah, you gotta learn to love yourself first.
Don't even try.
Which is very important. But again, she said it for both. We saw both Kyo and Yuki there, so maybe, like,
that was the crumb that Yuki got. All the rest of it was for Kyo. And, like, that's, okay, fine. Whatever.
We got so many things for Yuki. I think it's fair that this week we got something for Kyo. I think that's fair.
This is other characters talking about it. Like, Yuki's been doing all the work for himself, being really obvious.
Okay, but, like, Shigure is, like, remember when Shigure was like, oh, remember, like, Yuki was, like, a complete mess trying to get you, and Yuki blushes? That's something that happened earlier. Like, granted, like, like, yeah, Kyo has these other... Again, Yuki's much harder to read than Kyo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe, like... I'm just saying... Don't abandon ship just yet.
I don't want to abandon. I'll cling to the railing as it sinks into the ocean.
Oh,
I have to. I won't leave it.
Oh, rip. Okay, so yeah, so that happens. That was a nice little like breather for us. They had a picnic in a graveyard, which is really funny. And then we get these like last 2 minutes. And like not even last 2 minutes, like a minute. Like 30 seconds. Where Toru's like sleeping. She like had a long day. She was drinking some tea, then she fell asleep outside in the patio. I don't know what it's called, like the backyard, I guess. I don't know. And Kyo like goes up and tries to wake her up because he's like, you're gonna get sick. And then he leans in. Now this is where I'm confused. He basically leans in as if he's gonna kiss her.
Yes.
Does he kiss her?
No.
And because he says, basically we get a close-up of him saying, I'm sorry. And it's like, all right, are you sorry for what you're about to do in terms of like, you're about to like leave, or you're about to do like, I don't know, something's about to happen that you've been thinking about, and you, like, I don't know, maybe he's gonna run away. I don't know what he's gonna do. Or is it, but did he like lean in, kiss her, and then we only see the cut to him being like, I'm sorry, because he kissed her?
I don't think Kyo is at a place where he can kiss anybody. I think that's why it's hard to believe that I think what happened is obviously he's interested in her because she's cute as hell. Like, you know, it's true. But he's attracted to her, and like they're alone, and he's just like kind of like, he sees her sleeping, and it's very vulnerable, and she looks so nice, and he wants to kiss her, but he can't bear to do it because of all the self-work he has left. Like, I don't think he thinks he's worth Toru at this point. I don't think he has a very high opinion of himself. I think a lot of that has to do with all the cat stuff. I think the other half of that has to do with like the extra curse thing that hasn't been brought up in a while, but is very much in play. And I think honestly, she's gonna have to go to him first before he really is willing to make a move on her. I think that's everything to do with his characterization at this point. So I don't believe that he kissed her. I think he apologized because he doesn't feel like he can. And he's like, sorry, I can't do that. I can't even smooch you. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so you think he's like apologizing for even like for not being able to go through with it?
Yeah, that's what I think.
All right. Okay, April, do you think that he's apologizing for not being able to go through it, like Michelle? Do you think he's apologizing because he did it, or do you think he's apologizing for something completely different?
I think he's apologizing for something completely different.
What?
Because,
like what?
So what I think that he's apologizing for is because it seems like, I mean, we've already discussed like multiple times how Kyo has a problem opening up to people, and so I think that at least in my interpretation of this, it's that he's apologizing because, like, well, for one, like, she asked him to be a part of some, you know, like, something that, like, meant a lot to her, and he, you know, it's her mom, the anniversary of her mom's passing, and she invited him along, and so I think he was apologizing, not just because, like, he wasn't necessarily like on board with it, like, so that may have come up like in his head, or at least I'm thinking inside of his head, he was probably thinking like, oh, she thinks I don't care about her, and so, or like what's important to her, which isn't true. And so I feel like he's apologizing because he's like, hey, like, I shut myself down, and like I put distance between like me and the people that I care about the most, and I'm sorry because like I don't want that for us. So I sort of interpreted it that way. And I could be completely wrong, but that's just kind of like, and I don't think that he kissed her either. So I think he was just saying like, I'm sorry because I want to be close to you, but I'm not yet there or ready to be this close to you yet. But he's trying, and he's You know what I mean? So I think this might also be like a turning point for him too, is because like he may feel really guilty because, you know, because Toru's mom means everything to her. And for him to just not be like, you know, come at it with the same enthusiasm that like Yuki did, it probably hurt him just a little bit. And he probably feels guilty about that. So I that's how I'm choosing to interpret the situation.
Gotcha. I hope he didn't kiss her because that's not cool. You don't kiss someone who's like in their forehead. Yeah, okay, maybe.
Very rarely is it romantic.
Like, it's in real creepy. Life. Like I blame Sleeping Beauty for this because suddenly it's like, oh, it's romantic. It's not romantic. It's creepy. You don't kiss someone when they're asleep. It's crime. It's like I think it's a crime. That's borderline crime. Don't do that, people. But I think he's going to. I think he's apologizing, but he's going to do something. He's going to do something. Whether that's like fight with Yuki in a way that Toru's not going to like,
run away again. Maybe he's going to run away.
Yeah, maybe, or he's going to do something that's going to hurt Toru, which makes me nervous. Because he's shown, like, especially when he talked to Saki, like, he looked scared. He looked freaked out. He's just been off. He hasn't been 100% there. Even after when they had that talk, you know, in the forest, him and Toru, like, even then, like, they haven't, unlike Toru and Yuki, I think Toru and Kyo have yet to bond in that way, he has yet to fully open up to her in a way that Yuki has. And so, like, and, you know, Toru has seen Yuki at his most vulnerable when, you know, after the whole Akito incident. Whereas, I don't know if we've seen her see Kyo at his most vulnerable yet. I don't think we know exactly what his demons are just yet. And I think what this episode, this ending finale of this episode, this is going to be, he's apologizing for what's about to happen. Like, and I don't know what that is, and I'm scared. Like,
that could be extra curse that Kyo has.
Oh my god, wait, what if he
I didn't even think about that.
Right?
Oh, that's
we haven't talked about it in forever.
Yeah, the curse is still in play. I was thinking, like, what if he's literally like, he's like, you know, I didn't say I'm sorry for your loss this whole time, so I'm just gonna like whisper in your ear at the wrong moment. Hey, sorry, your mom's dead. Just so you know, I know I didn't say anything. It's funeral, but
maybe he's just saying I'm sorry because like she's suffered through so much. You know, he's just going to be like, I'm so sorry that you've struggled. You know, he's just saying it in a very, like, intense way when she can't hear him. But maybe that's it. Maybe we're worrying about nothing.
Maybe he's just awkward and it's the best moment.
Right. I don't know. But while this whole thing was going down.
Oh my god, the other
thing. Okay, because you say the ship is sinking, but this happens.
Yeah, this is what I'm like, show. Well, for God's sake, like,
Yuki,
you gotta choose a side because this is painful now. It was his hat. What does that mean?
Is it his hat? I mean, he recognizes the hat.
Because we get a flashback. We get a flashback from Yuki's perspective. Her running to the mom and the hat falling off. He was there to see that happen.
He was the child.
It's 100% his hat. Yeah, he's hat boy.
He's hat boy.
He's hat boy.
So, like, Yuki is, like, the epitome of, like, that, like, first love, childhood, romance, potential, whatever thing. Because he was the little kid who saved her when she was lost. And she kept the hat. She kept the hat. Why did she keep the hat? You know, she kept it. He saw it. Like, for a second, for the briefest moment, I thought when he was looking in at Kyo leaning in.
No, I thought so too, because it cuts right from the almost
right from there.
To him. Yeah.
Which I kind of wish we'd seen that, because that would be really cool to see, like, ooh, drama. But
I don't know if I'm ready for
that. Okay, one, like, why is this such a... Is this a big deal? Like, it doesn't have to be a big deal. It could just be...
That's what I'm worried about, that it's not actually a big deal anymore, because that was a long time ago, and now she has a cat boy, so it doesn't matter. But it should matter.
Look, I'm just being like, okay, so this kid, like, helped her, you know, find her way home. Like, Tony was never said, like, oh, I'm in love with this kid. Like, oh, like, he was my first love or something, this child that she doesn't know.
For Yuki, though, because, like, again, Yuki didn't have a lot of friends at that age or ever. And for him to go out of his way to help this girl that he's kind of terrified of because he can't let her touch him, that's why he keeps running away from her. He doesn't do this every day, right? So there's not a doubt in my mind that isn't a strong memory he also holds. He just didn't realize that she was that same girl.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Guys.
What?
Guys.
What?
Oh my God. So, what? Okay. We started this episode with Momiji looking at his mom and his sister from a distance, his mother whose memories were wiped because she doesn't remember him and whatever.
Yeah.
What if, and we know that little boy was looking at Toru, the hat boy was looking at Toru from a distance. We know that there was a child whose memories were wiped because Yuki's secret was told. What if Toru was that child?
No, because she remembers him, though.
No,
what if she was in an instance where, in that the one instance.
Yes,
where,
the one
like,
instance.
they were playing and he accidentally ran into her or whatever happened whenever they were a kid and they had to wipe all the memories of the people at the park. What if she was the girl who ran into him?
What if? And he was looking at her from a distance.
He helped her.
Because she knows him.
Oh my goodness.
That'd be insane, but this show was already so small world that hat was Yuki's, so maybe it could be true.
What if? Like,
that's wild.
Like, I'm just saying.
That would be so sweet, though. That would mean so much if he's like, man, sorry I scared you, but I'll still help you find your mom. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
She wouldn't even remember or recognize him.
Yeah.
So. But that's what I mean. Like, that's what, and maybe that's why he doesn't recognize her because that's the last time he saw her, and then you see. So maybe because that's what I mean is like this could it doesn't have to be a big deal, but Yuki reacts to the hat in a very big deal way.
Yeah, he remembers that moment.
Well, like, okay, so that would also make sense because we can only assume that like she grew up. Like, wherever she lived with her mom and grew up is near the Soma house or the Soma estate.
Right.
And so, because also they go to the same high school. Right. And I know, like, what is it? Like, you know, you can apply to different high schools and take the trains and do all that stuff. But, like, it never seemed like she, like, moved outside of her area. You know what I mean? So... Oh my gosh.
What if, dude? I mean, I'm just saying because, like, again, it doesn't have to be a big deal unless it's like it needs some substance for it to be a big deal.
Well, and this isn't the first time we've talked about the hat. And like of the few possessions that she had in like the tent, she had the hat. So, like,
did Saki and Arisa say, like, kid with her that was her first love or something?
No, they did. They said, "What if you find that?" But when they were in the bed,
they were in the bed,
and they said, "Oh, that boy is probably your first love. Wouldn't it be crazy if you met him again?"
The hat.
Yeah, she's like, "I don't know, would it be crazy? I don't know what would happen." Yeah, they totally talked about it.
Yeah. Oh my God, I am so sold on this. If this is not what happens, I'm gonna be very upset.
I'm gonna be so upset if it's Yuki's hat for sure, and they don't become endgame now. That's gonna be very frustrating.
Okay, so now I'm nervous because I feel like, okay, you know, like, for instance, oh God, I was about to spoil something, but no, okay, if it's Yuki's hat,
yeah,
because we don't 100% know it's his hat. If it's Yuki's hat, it's gonna be, I feel like if it is and he is that boy, I don't know if they're gonna end up together because then it's too obvious.
What?
Right?
Is it?
I mean, not now, but like in terms of like, okay, it's like the boy who saved you when you were younger, and now, I don't know, I feel like it'd be too perfect for them to, I mean, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know. I am so confused. I'm psyching myself out. I don't know.
No, I hear you. I honestly, I could see a universe where they don't end up together, but my hope is honestly that she at least dates him first and gives it a good college try. And if they have to go their separate ways, it's because they are sure that it's not what they want. Because otherwise, it'll always be a what if.
We have 60 plus episodes.
We do.
If they don't at least like give it a try, I'm gonna be very upset.
Yeah, like if they don't end up doing, that's one thing. But if they don't even try, like I'm gonna be really sad.
It's gonna be really sad. But yeah, and that was the episode. Do you guys have any? Well, what do you guys think of the new closing, like the new ending that we get?
The animation transitions are really cute, and all the animals.
Yeah. I really like the song.
Yeah,
me too. I like both of the songs, really.
Yeah. Great job choosing the songs. Props.
Way to go, guys.
Way to go, guys. Any kind of closing thoughts before we finish? Or have we all said our piece?
I think I've said my piece.
Yeah, I don't know how the next episode's going to top this, honestly. Like, you can't have too many emotional things in a row, so it's probably going to be a lot more hijinksy, but, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where we go from here, honestly. Maybe we talk about that hat some more? Probably not.
I mean, we have to, though. They can't just, like, leave us on, like...
But that happens so often in these shows, a big plot thing, and they don't talk about it for, like, 3 episodes, and then it randomly comes back, like, the hat will fall off her chair, and she'll be like, oh, yeah, that hat! I wonder who it belonged to. And then maybe
I've kept it all these years.
All these years. What does it mean? But I don't know if we're going to find out next episode as much as I want to know right away.
Right.
Yeah,
that's fair. Okay. All right. I hope that it doesn't drag on too much, though. I hope we do get some sort of, like, closure somewhat soon. As in, like, I don't want this to bleed into, like, season 2 of Fruits Basket. Since we're still in the first season, I don't want it to bleed into season 2. But, yeah, my last thought is, The Legend of Crimson Butterfly of Route 7, I need that prequel anime, and I need it now. Thank you. Like, like, please.
Was confirmed to be in a legit gang. That's so awesome.
It's gonna be a love story.
Probably.
It's gonna be the story of how she's in this gang and she meets Toru's dad and she falls in love.
He falls in love. She's got that coat. She's a gangster. Like, how could he say no to that?
He continuously chases her until she finally admits that she's not as hard as she thinks she is, and that she truly does love him. And then the gang's like, don't leave us, and she's like, I have to for love. And his family's like, you suck, she's trash. And he's like, no, I love her. I can see
you're trash, fam.
You're right. Like, okay, I'm gonna write it. It's fine.
Yay!
All right, we await the Legend of Crimson Butterfly of Route 7 fic.
As told by April.
All right, well, that does it for us. You can find out all the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord to text chat about animation at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, David, aka hold on, I can say this. Papa Papillion. Papa Papillion. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hugh, and Michael. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.